Hi, my name's Chris Allen, and I'd like to share my story with you today about what the Lord's done for me. I was in a rough patch of life, so back in 2013, my grandmother had passed, and from that point on, because she was a sweet lady, just like any other grandma, and I started hating God because He took her from me. And then childhood stuff, just it's rough, and growing up, going to church with my grandma, hardcore Baptist, 10 Commandments, everything, and you couldn't please anybody. You can't, and I understand that, but it's still one of those things. So at that point, I had had enough, and life just kept going and kept going, and I was miserable. I turned 16. Is it a 15 or 16? That's when I started having suicidal thoughts every day. It wasn't like a periodically through the day. It was more of like I'd be driving down the road and thinking like I could hit that tree and it'd be over. And that went on until I got saved, which I was 24 at the time. But I had met Sarah, and I was talking to her, and she was like, we can talk and be friends, but if you don't get back into church, then this can't go anywhere. And I'd already been having some of those thoughts of like, I really need to get back into it, but I just didn't know where to go or where to start, and so I told her I'd give it a chance, and I was like, well, where do you go to church? And she said, Grace Fellowship. And I had came here when I was like 15. And so I was like, okay, and I'll give it a shot. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll give it a shot. So we came to the 10:30 service, and I sat in the back. It wasn't anything big. And then I told her that I would come to the 6 o'clock service with our friends, because they were coming. And she had texted me after we had left. It was a couple hours later. She had texted me, and she's like, you don't have to come. They canceled. They're not coming, so you don't have to come. And I was like, well, I gave you my word, so I'll be there. And she said that we can sit in the back. And I was like, I'm not here to interrupt what you have going on. Just we'll sit wherever you want. But on the way here, that day, it was June 9th, if I'm not mistaken, of 2024. On the way here, I was just first time in forever, I was just begging God to essentially give me something. If I'm supposed to be here, get back in church, I need something. And that was the first thing that I had really been like believing in God for, was a sign. And then during the 6 o'clock service, I was sitting, I think we're in the third row in the middle here, maybe a little further back, and I kept having, like, it wasn't my voice, but like I kept hearing it, and it was just like, it just kept saying, move your feet, and I wouldn't. I couldn't do it. And Pastor Patty had opened up the altar, and it just got like, it was like I had a migraine. It was so loud. And finally I started walking up here, and right as I got to the steps, almost, I hit my knees, and I just started crying. I haven't thought about this in a long time. But I went to get up because I just unloaded some stuff, When I went to get up, I couldn't. And every time I tried to stand, I could hear that voice again, and it was just, it just kept repeating all of it. And so I'd give a little more, and he'd say it again. And then finally, once I had nothing left, I was able to stand up. And when I walked into this church that day, I had a really bad case of Tourette's. Like I would blink so much that I couldn't see to drive, uh, and I would make noises just throughout the day, grunts, and it would affect my breathing. I didn't have any verbal tics. It was all just like cosmetics and stuff, if you want to call it that. But anyway, I was 130 pounds when I walked in here. I had a really bad eating disorder. Um, as a 24-year-old man, I couldn't even finish a Happy Meal. But, and I was very angry. I was an angry human. Just waking up every day, finding anything to be angry at. It didn't matter if it was the best day that I've ever had. I was just angry at everything all the time. Um, had a nicotine addiction. That was essentially my breakfast was nicotine and caffeine every day. Just didn't eat. Um, and half the time when I did eat, I would throw up. And then the night I got saved, I woke up the next day, didn't even look for nicotine, and I was starving. I wasn't even hungry, but after I got up and moving around and started eating, I kept eating. It's like I hadn't ate for 20 years. Um, I wasn't angry. My depression was gone. I didn't have a suicidal thought one that day. That stayed true all the way through now. Never been depressed. I don't blink. I'm perfectly fine. I don't have, it's like I never had them. Never had them. My anger, it's not there. Everything that I was angry about, I let that go. Um, the eating disorder, don't have a problem with that. I'm 200 pounds right now. Um, he saved me from myself essentially. It's a beautiful thing. Um, it's one of those things where you don't realize how bad it is until it's not there anymore. And I don't know. He's done a lot for me. In a nutshell, um, it was essentially realizing that everything that I was trying to do wasn't working. So coming in here was this first step, and then I didn't have anyone to show me how to correct stuff. So I knew I was going to have to find someone to model the life after. And I had two people, and that was Pastor Dale and Kenny. And I told my wife, like that's who I aspire to be like. Because it was just bad. It was bad. I couldn't, if I went left, it was wrong. If I went right, it was wrong. So I just kind of looked at them as kind of creating the path where I need to go. So, if Pastor Dale said, this is what I've been studying, that's what I'm studying. I would talk to Kenny, he'd be like, well, I read this, that's what I'm going to read. And really just navigating it and realizing that, like, you can't be half in and half out. So to get to where I'm at today, I laid down a lot, drinking, hanging out like that bad group of friends, just kind of, we can be friends from a distance, but as far as hanging out and everything, I can't do that no more. And then really just, it's a renewal of the mind on a daily basis, just to remember where I came from to what I have now, and just keep walking in that path. Going from the day after till now, there's been plenty, really. So I was never one on like being baptized, and all this. And I think it was August of 24 is when I got baptized here. Um, my right knee, I got healed with my right knee. Whenever I was younger, I played football. Um, and I had fell weird, and whenever I fell, I had tore something in my knee, and my kneecap, whenever I stood up, my kneecap was on the side. And, just coming from be a man, you know, I never got it fixed. So it gave me problems. Whenever I would sleep at night, I'd have to sleep with my left foot over my right, because if I didn't, my right foot would be sticking up, but my kneecap would be on the side of my knee, and I would have to rotate it back, and it's painful. Um, and then I came up for healing one night, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me when I got healed from that. And I was never one to raise my hands or run or anything like that. And there was one day we were on the way here, and he just told me, he was like, you're very bold besides when you go to church. What's the difference? And I just kind of told him, I was like, I try to be respectful in church, and he was like, respect will get you a lot, but praising me will get you more. Being on the team of catchers and working in the nursery and doing all this stuff, I was never one to be that into things. But it goes back again to where I try to model myself after Pastor Dale and Kenny. Is if something needs done or somebody needs help, you're there to do it. The atmosphere here, it'll bring the best out in people, and there's just been so much that he's helped me with, and from personal experiences, of course. If anyone's dealing with anxiety or depression, suicidal thoughts, and eating disorders, whatever it is, pain, financial problems, I've dealt with all of that. And the minute that I started putting my faith in God instead of putting my faith in myself to figure it out, it's already figured out. God is faithful to you and will forgive you. All you have to do is ask, and let Jesus in your heart, and he'll handle the rest. I had the problem of thinking I had to fix myself from the outside in before I could be in God's favor. You don't have to do that. Just ask him to come into your heart, and it's done. He knows what you want and what you need. You don't have to beg and plead or do any of that. Ask and you shall receive.